We have risen from the ashes to school the masses. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Scholars of Wrestling Show. I'm your man behind the microphone, Scholar Jeff. Joining us this week is the undisputed scholar himself. You know him. You love him. He is the one and only Scholar Tarek. Scholar Tarek, how are your travels, sir?
My travels was very nice. It was nice to go to basically spend the weekend with the family down in the land of flowers that is Florida. Finally, I actually got to see one of those people complaining about not wearing a mask inside of a Walmart
Really?
instead of actually seeing videos of it. I actually got to see it in person, so that was fun.
Wow, I guess we got
Um,
spoiled up here on the East Coast. Damn.
it's pretty. It just makes me think. Oh yeah, up here in Jersey, we're just like, you know what? There's no point in arguing with this. There's these businesses are privately owned. They could set up their own rules when you go inside them. No one complains. Florida, It's a completely different world.
See
You
how
just go
having
down
good
there.
seeing
You
how
go.
see don't you see the whole world can see now how just having good, simple, high quality pizza and bagels will just mellow you all out.
Yeah, right. Especially the breakfast bagels, which is something very rare in Florida, surprisingly.
Oh yeah, do anyway. I'm sure we could have a whole other other episode of a podcast about that alone.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
but
Let's.
as the show title outlines, we've got the whole world of wrestling to cover, and thankfully, some places are better than last week. Because
Oh,
last
yeah.
week, man, there was nothing, but there was also something that I really didn't expect. But we'll get into all that in just a moment. But for now, we have to do a little bit of a segment that we need to kick off every single possible show with. We need to peek behind the curtain and go in on a little backstage news.
Indeed, we shall go ahead and just do as we always do, peek behind that curtain, and be like, oh, there actually is something to talk about this week with a little bit of
Backstage news.
news.
News. No
Brian's
math
not
from.
here, so we don't need to say it.
I feel like it's customary at this point. It's the principle of the thing,
It's
you
it'll
know.
be it's customary for him mainly. We don't always need to go down to his level and just think everything is meh.
Well, on the same token, I feel like it's not that everything is meh. Only some things are meh, and even the meh itself is a part of the routine. It's a part of the shtick. But anyway, speaking of
Meh.
shticks, no, speaking of things that are absolutely not meh, uh, fool, we've apparently got a new Impact World Champion in Kenny Omega. Plus, that with the AEW and AAA titles, he's a triple world champion.
To the surprise of no one. We all knew this was gonna happen eventually. The second they made that AEW made that deal with Impact Wrestling. We knew Kenny Omega was going to go for that title and he was going to win it. We've known that since last year, since that was pretty much the mission he was going on, saying, "Oh, I'm just going to collect every world title and Thanos the world of professional wrestling." We knew that was coming, and he was facing Rich Swann, which, to be fair, it may just be the fact that it's still that WWE view of Rich Swann, but I'm just like, oh, Rich Swann is Impact World Champion Rich Swann is going against Kenny Omega. Gee, I wonder who's going to be the winner of that match.
Very true, but then again, I also get the impression that because of the state of wrestling that we've seen over the past several decades, particularly from WWE, I don't know. It's like it's still, even though a lot of us were predicting this outcome, there was still a part of me that just looked at that and went, "No, they're not. Are they? Really? Will they? No, huh?"
Well, even if that was somewhat unexpected for you, it still doesn't really change this change the state of Impact Wrestling as a whole. I mean, just from what I've been reading, ratings didn't really go up, especially it's like, oh, Kenny Omega, Impact World Champion. Didn't really do anything. People are still not watching that product. And it just makes me think in the long run when it comes to this AEW Impact Wrestling deal, AEW is really getting the trying to find the right word for it, the golden nuggets that come with the deal, and Impact Wrestling is really not get is barely getting the scraps because people are still not watching Impact Wrestling. People are still like this may be the like one of Impact Wrestling's biggest pay-per-view buys, but that's because it's not because of the card. It's because just Kenny Omega is going to go for the world title and he's going to win it. It's not like he might win it. It's he is going to win it.
Yeah, I think the rating numbers absolutely did show that. But in my mind, the big question from here on out is it's not necessarily is Kenny Omega going to take the Impact World title? Obviously he is. For me, the question now becomes who's going to be the one to take him down?
Is
Any
there anyone
thoughts?
to really take him down?
I'm going to say yes. Yes, there is. Because if you recall on that same show, we got W. Morrissey, the former Big Cass, coming in looking bigger and badder than ever.
I like the meme that people post up. It's Mario giving Edge a mushroom and it turns into Big Cass.
I know I've seen it before, but you know what? After seeing the way he debuted and thinking of the eventual build that they're going to have to put in for anyone who ends up taking down Kenny Omega, this is going to be a huge push for whoever ends up beating him, whether it's
There's
W.
there
Morrissey or not.
it's not going to be an Impact guy who's going to be the first person to take a belt off Kenny. Ooh, excuse me.
I didn't say they would be the first one to take a belt off of Kenny Omega. I'm saying that someone on the Impact side of things at some point is going to have to take him down, and whoever is going to be a big time hero on their end.
Is it really though? Is it really going to? Is it? No pun intended. Is it really going to make that big of an impact?
If we're
I don't want to be
talking
the negative. I don't
on
want to be a negative
no no
Nancy
no
here, but
no no
it just isn't really capturing my interest. It doesn't even look like it's capturing really anyone's interest on thinking who from the Impact side is going to take Kenny Omega down, because we all know the person who's going to take Kenny Omega down is someone on AEW side, and that's going to be Hangman Adam Page.
for the AEW World Championship. Yeah, the AEW in my mind is a whole other beast.
Well,
I'm
it's
talking
still AEW may still be a whole other beast, but it's still the fact on who's going to first take down Kenny Omega. It's right now. It's Kenny Omega's now. It's beyond which show it is. It's beyond. It's just who's it going to be, and they're sure as hell is not going to have it be an Impact guy beating him, being the one to
oh
take him
no,
down.
I
Oh,
I
they're
made
gonna
that
have the
clear.
Impact guy
I did
eventually
not
because
make
he's
that
gonna
clear.
eventually need to lose it. But the first
That's what
person to beat him is going to
yeah,
be
that's
AEW.
exactly what I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's likely that someone from Impact is going to be the first person to take down Kenny Omega. I'm not making that claim at all. What I am thinking of is that earlier you were talking about, I think this was before we went on the air, that so far the Impact AEW partnership has been extremely one sided.
Oh,
That it
I said
seems
that
like,
before and during.
okay, all right. Well,
Just to be clear.
again, yeah, again, we're taking things very clearly around here. This is we
Mhm.
like clarity here. So anyway, I didn't I totally first of all, I totally agree with you. It has been completely on the AEW side of things so far. But what I believe that Impact is getting out of this is that they're taking a completely opposite react strategy with this, where yes, Kenny Omega is coming in all full of piss and vinegar, taking all the belts. It's exciting. He's unifying any of the non WWE brands, it seems, at the moment. But then, because of the kind of figure that Kenny Omega is, every single promotion that he's got a belt from, eventually someone's going to have to come around and take all of them from him. From AEW, I think we already have a pretty sizable idea of who that might be. With like we are talking about, Hangman and Page, just to name one.
It
But
has to be him. It's
of the current roster, it's looking that way, certainly. But what I'm reasoning right now is with all the other companies, depending on who they end up doing, whoever ends up taking it from Kenny Omega, like you said, with just Rich Swann, like, no, he's going to destroy Rich Swann. How do we know that whoever takes it from Kenny Omega from the Impact side of things to get the Impact's World Championship back, relatively speaking, whoever beats Kenny Omega is going to be a made man on the Impact side of things. I'm with all the hype coming in right as it stands right now. I think W Morrissey has about as good a shot and as about as much promise as anyone can expect. But again, with all the recent releases, for all we know, the person who will eventually take down Kenny Omega may not be working for the company yet. So who knows?
are you hoping that it's going to be Samoa Joe? Because that's the only thing that I'm
No,
really getting out of that.
no. If I had my way, Samoa Joe would be fast tracked to the AEW title and then just end up taking it from Kenny on AEW, working with AEW.
Hmm.
I That being said, I don't think it's out of the question. It's not off the table if he goes back to Impact. But given the showing he's made in WWE, I don't think he's going to necessarily go back to Impact.
Oh, I don't think so either. It would be big. It would be a big deal for Impact, but I think it would be the smarter deal going to AEW, whether it's to wrestle, which we all know he wants to do. He's been wanting to get back in the ring for a while now, but WWE was doctors were just not clearing him. Or he could just go back to commentary since hell, that's he's amazing at it. Hell, when he retires from being from in ring action, he could go right into the commentary team. It's a win-win for him. The only thing going back to the whole the person who will take the Impact title off him. I think because it would be after the point of as we're going with this Adam Page getting the title and someone finally taking a belt off him, it just takes away the Impact side of things. It's like, okay, so now that he lost one title, it's now he's falling apart type of ordeal. It's like now he's just dropping the titles now. It doesn't it would mean more if it was the first person to beat him, but we all know that's not going to happen. So it takes the big draw away of someone taking the Impact title off Kenny Omega.
I see what you're saying. It certainly would not be the strongest transition, but then again, well, this is also Impact that we're talking about here. It's even now when the show is for the most part better than it's been in quite a while. Its Impact still has the impression and the reputation that Impact and TNA always did for like the past decade.
Mm-hmm.
There's still a lot. It's not AEW where they came in rip snorting with whole lot of hype out of the gate. Impact has suffered some very serious image problems. So even if a victory over world champion Kenny Omega is significantly lowered in Impact by Impact standards, it's still a big deal. It's not as big a deal as the first person to take him down, which, as we established, will more than likely be someone on the AEW side. But a victory over Kenny Omega is still a victory over Kenny Omega. a title win is still a title win. Just because it doesn't mean quite as much as another company doesn't mean it's not going to be a huge deal for that individual company. And there's no saying that it also won't make a brand new babyface star on the way up.
Possibly. And it and back I guess just this is just me being a complete negative Nancy about this. Just there goes the quote unquote star power. Well, it's Kenny Omega, so yes, I won't say quote. It'll take away the star power of like, oh, yeah, we have a new big baby face world champion, but it's not going to leave. I gotta think of another word from this because just keep constant punning. Won't leave that much of an impact, even on the impact side of things.
Hey,
At least just for me.
Yeah, and again, some of us are just never going to be watching Impact just because of how it's carried alone. I mean, I'd love to check out Impact on a regular basis, but I just don't have the channel that it's on. So whatever. But all that stuff aside, you want to talk about ranting? There's going to be some grievances in the world of wrestling. So let's transition over to what WWE is doing on their side of the pond, starting with, we're going in reverse order this time around. We're talking about what happened on this week's episode of Friday Night SmackDown, which wasn't too bad.
It's always been the one thing that's been constant when it comes to basically any WWE show that's not Raw. The show will be put on the more positive side. It's always leaves a good taste in your mouth when it comes to WWE. SmackDown, the real big thing that was really going on that was the big selling point was the Universal Championship match between Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan. And because of who those two guys are, they obviously delivered. It was a great match. And now Daniel Bryan is now banned from SmackDown, and I'd rather him, if he was going to just keep going in the wrestling side of things. This is just, but from what we've been hearing, it's more he's now leaning towards stepping away from the ring, which sad, but hey, it's their choice. But if he does decide to continue wrestling, I'd rather him actually go down to NXT than the Monday Night Raw, because
I
my
was going to
God,
say, we're all thinking it. We are.
Because there's just so many different possibilities that, like, the more money making matches. I mean, other than Daniel Bryan versus either Bobby Lashley or Drew McIntyre. I mean, I'd rather want to see Daniel Bryan versus Finn Balor, or Daniel Bryan versus Karrion Kross, Daniel Bryan versus Adam Cole, baby. Hell,
Yeah,
even get Daniel Bryan versus Walter.
Now that would be a dream match.
Those are like, there are so many different matches that are coming from the NXT side that I would want to see more than the WWE's, than the Monday Night Raw side. But yeah, great episode of SmackDown. I know there was an Intercontinental Championship match too, but I really we knew that Apollo Crews was going to successfully defend. Aleister Black had another interesting promo, backstage, like video vignette. And I swear to God, if they don't going back to the Roman Daniel Bryan, they were going to do Roman after the match. Roman sets Daniel Bryan up for a concerto. Out comes Cesaro to make the save, other to have Jey Uso completely fuck that up. There's my one. I'm now reached that point where I'm done with Jey Uso. Every time he's on the screen, I just want now he's Jey Uso has now moved towards the go away heat for me. Every time he's on the screen, I'm tired of him. But this is now more than just the Cesaro Cesaro lover fanboy of me saying this. If Cesaro, they have this whole program now that they're trying to have with Cesaro moving forward. If Cesaro ends up not winning the Universal title, it's basically how angry I was a couple weeks ago. That could basically come back, because it's back to the whole, what's the point of getting invested in anything? What now it's reverse Roman Reigns is now definitely the Triple H of the current era, where he keeps getting thrown baby faces and constantly winning. It's now basically, I would look at this as the Triple H versus Booker T WrestleMania, where Triple H, oh, you're nothing more than a loser, criminal, failure, and Triple H actually ends up winning that feud, proving him right.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I would go quite that hard, but there is still that question of could Cesaro still win it? And if so, when will that be?
For
Because
me, I actually said this to you at our WrestleMania viewing party. I'm giving them to SummerSlam. If Cesaro doesn't win the Universal title at SummerSlam, then he's not going to win it at all. And it's basically, this whole thing was just a complete waste of time. Like them trying to build a new star, but just be like, oh no, we still got our one guy, which is Roman Reigns, which is what we build the entire brand over. So yeah, again, it would just be back to that. What's the point of being invested in anything other than,
oh,
like, that's not Roman Reigns?
we'll get to that. But as far as your prediction goes, it's I'm total in again. I'm in total agreement with you. The only question I've got is there a possibility if he's going to win it that he could win it sooner than that? My primary logic being that it's still quite a few months until SummerSlam hits. So if they want to really strike when the iron's hot with this, I would imagine that there's a strong possibility that if they're going to give it to him at all, they may actually give it to him a month or two before SummerSlam and just have him coming in as the defending face champion.
And just to have him basically be a transitional champion.
No, no.
I don't know. I feel like
Just the
if
idea that, like, I know traditional WWE logic would say that if he goes in as a champion, there will be a title change at a big show like SummerSlam, when that's not necessarily the case.
I just feel like if you want to make this storyline really mean it something, as to have a guy who's basically been clawing his way to the top of the mountain that far, I feel like the journey has to be at one of the big two, either WrestleMania or SummerSlam. We already just had WrestleMania, and it would be much more of an impact. I gotta stop saying that goddamn word. It'll be much more of a superstar making moment. There we go. For Cesaro, as making him a top player, to give him that Roman Reigns' first big loss at SummerSlam.
You're not wrong,
So
but
that's my
again,
deadline.
I get it. I do.
Will he win it sooner? Probably, but that's the point where I'm thinking, if he doesn't win the title by then, I'm pretty much done.
Yeah. And I totally get it. I've already kind of reached that with other people, but if just to round out the discussion regarding Cesaro, if the end goal is for Cesaro to win the championship at SummerSlam, it, my question then becomes, does Cesaro have enough momentum to carry a full big feud for 3 months until SummerSlam hits? Maybe they have fans in attendance, and all of a sudden, boom! Now the time is right for a Cesaro title win. Would this? What is in your view? Is there a way to keep this feud going and keep it fresh and interesting? Or if they try to extend it to SummerSlam, would it just be, no matter what they do, a matter of too little too late?
There are ways, but also WWE doesn't really look at the long run, doesn't look at the long-term booking. They basically look at week to week. They book their shows week to week until Vince McMahon comes in the day of the show and completely rips up the script and writes his own the day of, which is what he does now. which is why what makes show not as consistent, or especially in Raw's case, consistently bad. Uh,
Oh, we'll get to that in just a hot second.
uh, is there stuff that they can do to have him really like have it be until SummerSlam? Can they book it long enough? Possibly. I mean, just like he still has this continuing feud with Rollins. He can go through Jay, which basically crawls his way to the head of the table, basically knocking off each person off their seats of the table, as the visual goes.
Hmm.
Oh, by the way,
Well,
I like Roman Reigns' new theme song. That actually,
yes, finally he got new theme music. That wasn't just a pitch down remix of the Shield theme. Finally.
it's really nice to see him. It's nice to see now it's a full on. The only thing that he really has left of old school, close to Shield Roman is just the Roman Empire on the Titantron, but they're not going to be changing that anytime soon.
Yeah, it's too good of a tagline.
And now I even posted on Twitter, all WWE needs to do is just really to replace the "You suck" chants that they put after the theme song to "Roman sucks," because that's more authentic than a simple "You suck." I mean, look at the WrestleMania live crowd; they're chanting "Roman sucks," and the first thing I said when I heard that was like, oh. Now that actually sounds more right, because they're actually directing it to Roman and not having it be a piped in generic "You suck" because they don't want to have it be singled out to Roman for reasons.
Well, speaking of You Suck, that brings us finally to this week's episode of Monday Night Raw. And I'm just going to come right out and say it. In my view, this was one of the worst Monday Night Raws I have ever seen in my life. Come at me, bro.
That honestly can be said with the last 4 episodes of Raw. It just it is constantly bad.
Because I just feel like this one in particular was just like, I feel like this week's episode of Monday Night Raw was just, is when it really hit home for me, because this was just bad. It was like, it wasn't just bad, it was insultingly bad. Like you've got Xavier Woods coming out with a giant like, guitar case full of tomatoes, and they're throwing tomatoes.
I
And
actually saw your tweet on that one. I'm like, oh, the tomatoes broke him. That's the thing that actually broke him.
oh no, oh no, it wasn't just the tomatoes that broke me. It was Nia Jax slipping on water and everyone pointing and laughing because big woman fall down, go boom. And now, on top of everything, we've got Alexa Bliss putting on way too much smoky eye makeup, playing with dolls, to completely destroying the thunder of the one dude I actually like on this show. And then you got, speaking of thunder, you've got the almighty Bobby Lashley, who's just sort of showing up wearing them suits, carrying around a big old belt, and then nothing ever happens, and then it's just
Okay, I will give it to them. I like. I'm now gonna pull your optimism on this. When it comes to Bobby Lashley's side of things, I actually do like the consistent storytelling on him, because the whole point of this story was they didn't want Braun to win, to have it be a triple threat match, so because they don't want history to repeat themselves of how he lost the United States title, with like, oh, we don't want to have another moment where he loses the title without getting pinned, so let's keep it a one-on-one with a guy that we've already beaten. I that storytelling I got. But you throw in Dijakovic and uh, uh,
Mace.
yeah, I forgot his actual name, Mace, uh, to basically
Dio
be
Madden. His name is Dio
what?
Madden
Dio Madden, sure. Uh,
because he's a big black weeb and he likes JoJo and that kind of thing.
so you basically have these two as basically time filler for the title match because you want Bobby Lashley to basically pull a Roman where a match where he when he gets a match it's a bigger deal. Fair. But my God, this it's people have basically been looking at Monday Night Raw as Groundhog Day, where it's basically just the same bullshit each week. Hell, it even happened last week. It was just uh, Braun wants a singles match. Last week, Drew McIntyre wanted a singles match against a handicap match against T-Bar and Mace. I hate that I have to call him that. And it just leads to a tag team match. It leads to a disqualification because they beat him up too hard, which leads to the other person coming down to make the save to set up a tag team match that leads to either a disqualification or a count out. Yay! Basically make everyone look like shit. And then to make matters worse, you had a singles match between Braun Strowman and Drew McIntyre to find a way to get Braun Strowman into the WWE Championship match, which already like Braun Strowman is now at that point where he's lost all credibility to be a world champion.
Yeah, I'm not even thinking of Braun Strowman in that conversation in the slightest.
Like any real credit, like he still looks good. Actually, he's looked better than he's ever been. But my God, he is just not champion material anymore. He was back when he was feuding with Roman Reigns, the I'm not finished with you, Braun Strowman. That was the type of Strowman that was basically lifting up ambulances and turning over uh, pieces of the set over on top of Brock Lesnar and Kane. That Braun Strowman was the guy that okay, now I want to see that Braun Strowman as champion. I don't want to see this Braun Strowman as champion. This is a boring Braun Strowman. And him being thrown into it is now back to the Ross Tweddell meme. Vince McMahon likes big sweaty man. Vince McMahon likes big sweaty man. And that's all this triple threat is. Vince McMahon's big wet dream of big sweaty men fighting for the title.
And slapstick humor with throwing tomatoes and large women slipping on water and people laughing.
Oh, even with that
I hate this
tomato
show.
storyline, it's another repeat storyline. It's another like Groundhog Day scenario. Miz comes out talking about how awesome Bad Bunny is. Damian Priest comes out, talks about how awesome Bad Bunny is, and Damian Priest gets the last laugh.
Yeah, did I mention I really don't care for Damian Priest? He's
And
just
that's you made that clear. The people I don't remember which one actually said this, but I think it was Ollie Davis on Wrestle Talk said that WWE is now the one kid who's just like the one nerdy kid that is just saying, "Oh, what going on and how Bad Bunny is the cool kid." And now that the cool kid's gone, everyone's like, "Wasn't Bad Bunny just so cool?" And it just makes WWE look pathetic. I'm just talking about, oh, we just love talking about the cool kid that has basically is not on the show anymore.
yeah, this is overdone by a country mile. Uh, you know what? Screw this show. Raw pissed me off so bad. Like honestly, in my mind, that's why we a big reason why we didn't have a show last week because we were just looking at each other like, what is there to talk about? Raw sucked. Duh. But
Well, to be fair,
now is where I see it. Now I
well,
feel like I see it now. I was like, it's not a nondescript feeling of blah anymore. It's a feeling of this show objectively sucks.
and even now with the Alexa, like now there's just so many things to really talk about. Like the bad side of it. The this has now reached that point where the women's division in WWE is so bad right now because the main focus is on the women's tag team titles. And the main focus is just how we can make Nia Jax look like a complete tutter idiot.
And then
Excuse me.
the singles isn't any much better
Hell,
because
the
with
the Raw
Alexa
Women's title
Bliss,
is just basically the main focus is once again about Charlotte, and she's not even the champion. The main storyline of that is just Rhea Ripley and uh, oh yeah, the Rhea Ripley and the women's tag team champions Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus Asuka and Mandy Rose and the other one.
Dana Brooke.
Sure,
Yeah.
whoever. Yeah, the
Oh, that Bully Ray on this week's episode on this week of Busted Open, he went off on that whole mess because he was like, I want to find out whoever the the main booker was and the road agent was, whoever was the agent for that match. I want to drag them aside. I want to slap them in the face. I want to ask them, what in the hell were you doing? You had your world champion hit their finisher on a girl, and then you immediately tag, you don't go for the finish, and instead you tag the partner, and then they hit them with a leg drop and then they win. Like, what? That makes no logical sense. It's
it's
dumb.
the wait
It's
what
dumb with a
pumpkin what
capital. It's a what pumpkin moment. It's a pumpkin. What pumpkin?
and
What?
Nia got the pin, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, leg
That's
drop. Duh. She's
yeah.
the only one who actually does a leg drop.
Rhea Ripley hit the riptide, and then she immediately, I was like, okay, she's gonna go for the pin, but no, she immediately went over and tagged Nia Jax. Nia Jax hit a really, really dumbass leg drop and then won.
Because it's not about Rhea Ripley. It's all about it's either about Nia Jax looking like getting the win and actually taking credibility or momentum away from Rhea Ripley, or it's about Charlotte and having to make a referee apologize to her, and Sonya Deville reinstates her after a week of suspension. Bullshit. And to the Alexa Bliss thing, I can't take it seriously because she still has the Alexa's Playground in the same font as the Firefly Funhouse. Yet she
Uh,
broke away from Bray. Where the fuck is Bray Wyatt?
exactly. Which is the whole reason I'm concerned about this is that, oh, let's take all the whole supernatural gimmick, slap it on Alexa Bliss, and just totally forget about Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, that was the whole point of them breaking him up in the first place because they want Alexa. Their end
And
goal
they
right
wonder why
now,
people are booing this like crazy.
their end game right now is to have Charlotte versus Alexa. That's their end game right now. And I the the look of the Lily doll is interesting. It's actually kind of a little creepy. But in the end, just how are you going to get to this when you didn't have Bray Wyatt? I mean, let's put that Lily who's been around since she was a little girl in last week's promo. Yet it was the Fiend that gave her this dark power. So where does the Lily doll fit in? It's them rewriting their history and thinking it's insulting. Yeah, back to what you said. It's insulting to us because it's just like, oh wait, what about the entire storyline that you had with Alexa Bliss and Bray Wyatt? Now we're supposed to just say, oh, this doll Lily has been here the whole time. I'm sorry, I can't take that shit. That is a load of crap. And I love Alexa Bliss. I love her.
I
But
know,
my
but
God,
I even said this to myself, like, did they actually come up with a way for me to get me to actually boo Alexa Bliss? Like, Is that what they even wanted to do?
And it
And
just
oh,
back to the long-term story, what was the point of Alexa Bliss wanting to bring him back in the first place? Just to turn on him that his official like full powered return? This is dumb. This is now making me feel like Brian Alvarez to just shit all over this because booking wise it does not make sense. It's the Chewbacca defense. Doesn't make any sense.
sadly, you don't. And
And it
we're
just
oh
mm,
crap. Take this home. 'Cause,
it is
oh,
now it has now reached that point where when I look at WWE main roster television, SmackDown's the A show now. It is on the bigger network. It has the actual stars that they are pushing. It has the commentary team that they want with now Michael Cole and Pat McAfee, which to be fair, he's doing a great job. It's actually a really good commentary team. You have the stars, you have the network, you have the commentary team. You actually have the fans watching it that they constantly get over 2 million views compared to WWE barely getting a million. And it's just terrible, terrible booking. Like if they want, I'm surprised that they didn't push Charlotte onto SmackDown and yet, just to make her the star. Maybe because we got to have their female equivalent of Roman Reigns on the other brand.
I guarantee it was some stupid crap like that. But
But
again,
yeah,
Raw was
Raw is no
so
longer the A
bad.
show.
Yeah, I think it.
I am now convinced Raw is no longer the A show with just how badly they've been booking shows, how they're just based. Yeah, it just is complete and utter shit. And it's when I look at SmackDown, NXT, and AEW Dynamite Kick, it makes me actually enjoy wrestling. And then you got the one show, Monday Night Raw, that actually evens out the good with the bad. Like one show makes me so angry to be a wrestling fan. That the other three shows that are constantly good, if not great, like AEW, great, NXT, great, SmackDown, good/great. There are times when I'm thinking, oh God, who books this nonsense for SmackDown? But it's still constant. It's still on the constant. Well, it was still a pretty good show, good to great. But Raw for the past month and a half has been so bad. It makes me not want to watch it. And honestly, I don't even watch it. I just
I
watch
think it
highlights
was.
or someone reviewing it. I don't want. Yeah, it's now reached that point where WWE pushed me away from Monday Night Raw. I don't want to watch it because it's shitty television. It's insulting television. Why bother insulting my intelligence? And it has people that I like on that. Drew McIntyre. Hell, I'm actually intrigued with the RK Bro tag team.
That was like the
Because
highest point of the show for me, and
I
even
could see
then,
it
it's
as
like
like,
you can't save it on its own.
yeah, but it's like, okay, maybe they'll do what they did with Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne on NXT with Randy Orton now with Matt Riddle. That's
I
actually could
guarantee
be
you
fun.
that's what they're doing. Yeah, it's all right, but then again, it's like
But
I don't want to watch Raw, a TV show. I don't want to watch for just all right. I want.
it's not even, dude, like it's like you said, not that can't save it alone. Those things can't save it alone. It is still terrible, terrible. It's a terrible, terrible show. I don't want to watch it. I'm refusing to watch it because I don't want them insulting my intelligence. And that's what they're doing. Maybe Fox is telling them, hey, stop booking this stupid shit. And that's why SmackDown is actually the better show because Fox is telling them, you do this stupid shit, we'll pull the plug. And that's just that gives you the wider audience, because it's one of the big cable channels. No one gives a really shit about a USA Network.
And you know what? Before maybe it was on Monday. I don't even know what. But I was sort of on my phone, not really paying attention to Raw at all. and you said, you know what, something like, yeah, you know what, why don't we just review the new Mortal Kombat movie instead? Do a mini review of that. Like, I'm sitting there thinking about it, like, you know what, it make a hell of a lot more sense than anything on Monday Night Raw. So yeah, mini review of Mortal Kombat. Here we go. I loved it. The pacing of the new guy Cole Young was okay, but I feel like he actually did a very good. He actually served his purpose, and he actually put over the new Mortal Kombat world well. I felt like this thought just occurred to me. Everyone's complaining about Cole Young as sort of like milk toast or whatever, but the fact that he's an established MMA fighter and you put him in fight scenes, it helps the modern audience who has more knowledge of mixed martial arts that and any other point in history, certainly more than 30 years ago. They put him in there, it makes more sense. And when you put him in there with someone like a classic character like Kung Lao, then you can immediately see with your eyeballs how MMA fights compare with like the crazy kung fu of the Mortal Kombat universe. And yeah, it has purpose. And again, can we all agree? We all agree Kano was awesome. Cabal looked great, had some swagger to him. The speed, he fought like Cabal. Reptiles in the movie, he's there. He's got the tongue and the acid and the invisibility, and it's awesome. And it took 3 people to take him down. And Kung Lao was, I don't really give a shit about Kung Lao, but the guy playing him, Kung Lao, played Kung Lao pretty damn Kung Lao-y, and it was great. And it was amazing. And Natara was in the movie for like 5 seconds and it was great, and it was the
Wait, what
whole
was that
show.
last part? Who was in it for a few minutes?
Nitara,
Oh, Natara. Okay.
Bat Lady, vampire Bat Lady, where Shang Tsung was like, "She is so beautiful," and then Kung Lao was just like, "I'm going to do the most brutal fatality in the games for like the past 10 years," and I'm like, "Ah," and then he was like, "I'm gonna swallow your soul," and yeah, it was a much better booking decision than Monday Night Raw.
I liked it. Didn't love it. I liked it. I actually do want to see the sequel. I actually think the sequel is going to be a hell of a lot better than this. I liked the look. I liked the yeah, that I liked the look. I liked the fatalities that it actually felt like a Mortal Kombat video game. I just didn't like the plot. I didn't like Cole. Someone could have someone could have easily filled that role as person who's learning about the lore of Outworld, the Nether Realm, and Earth Realm a lot better. I mean, hell, technically you had those two. You had two characters who could have filled that role: Sonya Blade or Johnny Cage. But apparently they have to save Johnny Cage for the sequel for reasons unknown. I don't like uh, the fact that the powers are basically given to them when they find their arcanum. I think that's kind of a stretch. I mean, I'd rather have Kano have a cyborg eye that shoots a laser over. Oh, he got angry, so that unlocked his arcanum, and now he has a laser eye.
Although I have to admit that the whole dialogue about just egging him on and just like him getting all pissed off because just like give me a damn egg rolls.
I'm
I have to
like
admit that was great.
Kano was the best thing in the movie for me. Uh, it just the plot just didn't work for me. Cole character didn't work for me. The fact that he made Goro a complete and utter bitch
Well,
didn't help
I
the.
have to admit I was when I had some things spoiled for me before I got the chance to see the movie. I was really worried about how they were going to do this, if they're going to throw Goro of all characters at Cole Young to beat him. Like I was like, this could be the rise of Skywalker moment for me.
It kind of was for me.
And you know what? It was for me. It was one of those moments where I thought it was built up so horribly in my mind. I'm like, oh no, this is gonna suck. But then the execution came, and it wasn't. nearly as bad as I thought it would be. Like Goro still looks like a monster,
Oh, he
even
looked like a
after,
monster. He
even
just
if
didn't
he
get
got
the
his like plot armor and all that stuff. He was still getting beaten down. He was still getting. He wasn't having an easy time by any means.
but he's still honestly the one big difference with when it comes to Goro in this movie compared to the movie of 95. You actually it may have been off screen, but he was basically destroying people left and right in fights. They had the montage of them just all crashing onto the floor. They established that this guy is unbeatable. He is a beast. They just be like, "Oh, Goro, hey, you're here. We know how strong you are. Go get him."
I feel like,
And then he shows
yeah,
up. He throws him once or twice. He gets his plot convenience of Arcanum bullshit, and he kills Goro like a complete nutter bitch.
yeah, I feel like there was a lot of that happening during the movie, and it's an undeniable shortcoming where they'll just, with the exception of a handful of characters, they'll there's too many characters where they'll just announce them and then they'll say their names and next scene, boom, they're there. Like right at the start, like send in the reptilian size off, like, and then Reptile shows up. I'm like, yay, but then in the back of my mind, I'm like, this pacing sucks. And they're like, oh yeah, Prince Goro, good to have a Shokan. And then all of a sudden, Goro's on Earth, yay. And
Uh,
Natara was the worst. Like Natara, she's beautiful, blah, and then Kung Lao hats her to death. Like, uh,
and what it, let's see. Back to the plot. I don't like that they made basically Cole a chosen one to like the blood of Scorpion to release him and whatever nonsense that was. In my personal opinion, I actually like Scorpion's Revenge a lot more
yeah,
than this.
yeah,
If they
yeah.
made
No denial there.
Scorpion, if they did a basically a live action Scorpion's Revenge, it actually would fit the main story a lot more than what they did here. Hell, this was the prequel to Mortal Kombat. All it was Shang Tsung didn't want to wait for a Mortal Kombat to take over Earthrealm, so he just basically sent his minions to kill the champions just so they could automatically lose. I'm That's just very weak storytelling in my opinion. And hell, it was honestly done. The whole invasion thing of killing the champions was actually done better in the video games because Shao in the Mortal Kombat's like 9 and 10. Actually, I think it was more not just 9.
Before
Uh,
that, it was Mortal Kombat. That was the plot to Mortal Kombat 3.
no, I'm just talking about the whole invasion angle to begin with, where it's like Shang Tsung, he failed. He failed with when it comes to Mortal Kombat. So him and Shao Kahn decided to make a new tournament. That failed too. Shao Kahn got so pissed that you know what? Fuck it. Let's just invade.
Yeah, that was the
It's
plot to
like,
Mortal
oh, we can't. They
Kombat
say we
3.
can't. Yeah, they say he can't enter Earthrealm, but that doesn't mean his minions can't and just invade and kill everybody and just do it in the name of Shao Kahn. They basically took that aspect and put it in this, where it's just like, okay, it made sense in the game why they did the invasion. This one, they're just like, well, we don't want to wait for it. Let's just take it over already.
I will
And then
say
it
that,
just,
uh,
and then we had to wait for Scorpion to show up in the last 5 minutes of the movie.
that
First
being
few
said,
minutes and the last
however,
few minutes.
that being said, however,
It was
I
great.
do love what they did with Sub-Zero, where they basically made him Michael Myers, and it was fantastic. They made him a slasher villain, and they give Bihan all the presence of a slasher movie villain. I thought it was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. It seems that they're kind of dropping the Quan Chi element of basic, excuse me, Scorpion's uh, origin, because you know that it was Quan Chi that made himself look like Sub Zero and killed Scorpion's wife and son.
Yeah, and you know what? They
So,
can very easily. I'm totally cool with that, considering that's the way the original trilogy of games actually was.
mhm.
Score First, Bihan kills Scorpion. Scorpion kills Bihan, and then Scorpion comes back when he finds out Sub Zero's back, but then it's actually his younger brother who's far more merciful than Bihan, and Kuai Liang is actually a noble ruler of the Lin Kuei. And I
Mhm.
just realized this is actually a pro wrestling podcast, and here we are talking about Mortal Kombat
Because we actually
way better
are
booking.
we're enjoying talking about giving our quick basically review of Mortal Kombat over what happened in this week in wrestling. Okay, if you want to circle this back to wrestling, so do you think Miz is actually going to get the role of Johnny Cage, or are they going to just give it to Ryan Reynolds because that's what people are really pushing for?
Honestly, my gut says neither of them are going to get it. They're going to get someone with actual martial arts training who
Hmm.
can pull it off. Uh, if depending on how they shoot the fight scenes and how they can train somebody, I'd say maybe Miz would be a leading contender. Ed Boon even tweeted it out or
Hmm.
retweeted it, but I don't know. As far as like martial artists, like I'm not too sure who would be able to fill that role just yet. Although someone did have the idea of casting Jean-Claude Van Damme as his Johnny Cage's father to sort of bring the whole lore of the series full circle. Because originally, it the original version of Mortal
Oh no.
Kombat was supposed to be a Jean-Claude Van Damme video game,
Oh
and then
God. Now I'm just thinking of this how he was in Street Fighter, just all coked up. No, no, thank you.
banging Kylie Minogue got but in between takes. Oh boy.
Oh, thank you. But okay, I'm still sticking with what I gave it. I It looked great. The fights were great. Sub Zero and Scorpion were awesome, both in the beginning and the end. Cole Young sucked. It could have been mainly either Sonya Blade or Johnny Cage to be in that spot. And if they wanted to get the actor who played Cole Young to be in this, have to bring the MMA thing, have him be Liu Kang or Kung Lao or something. Because honestly, those characters were very boring to me. Uh, it was the plot was just very meh. Scorpion's Revenge did it better. I'm still gonna give the story 6 out of 10.
Mm.
I still I like the look of the world. I like what I want to see this world continue, and I think the sequel is going to be so much better because we're actually going to get a Mortal Kombat. But yeah, 6 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, as far as I'm going to use this in scholars beard score terms. Again, as a diehard Mortal Kombat fan, there was a whole lot to love. Yeah, there were some undeniable issues with the pacing and all of that. But then again, what we did get was so enjoyable by my standards. It was like dump when they brought in the lore, like there was like lore and dumps and
When they brought in the
Easter
lore, yeah,
eggs. Yeah. They
but it was the lore was sprinkled throughout in such little pieces that it actually like they put so much focus on the new guy and building him that it left me bored.
yeah, and I get that. But at the same time,
And I'm a big
when the
Mortal
pacing
Kombat fan too. And I was like geeking out when it came to Kung Lao ripping out Reptile's heart, or
that was Kano.
Kano ripping out Reptile's heart. That's what I meant. Kung Lao's fatality, Scorpion and Sub Zero. Those stuff were great. I didn't like really what they did with Cabal. I felt like they completely changed his character, and that kind of took me out of it. But he was funny.
But then again, I feel like the series itself has been doing that with Cabal like ever since the beginning. First he's an anti-hero, then he's a vigilante, then he's with the Black Dragon again. Now
Then
he's
he's
with
at one point he was a
then he,
cop.
then he's a cop again. Now he's with the Black Dragon again. Like every game he's in, they keep flip-flopping it. So it's not just this movie that does that, which is probably a big reason why I was cool with Cabal's portrayal in the movie.
Like I
Is
said,
at
he was
least
funny.
that he
I
was.
love it when he sucks the souls out,
That's
which is
becoming
like,
like a meme now. It's like he's about to get his soul sucked. Like,
okay, I
uh,
have a question. I have a
yeah.
question. Did you like what's his name who was cast for Shang Tsung?
I feel like it didn't. It's hard to say because for two reasons. Number one, you're always going to compare it to Kari Hiroyuki Takagawa. You just can't. Number two, he really didn't do too much.
Your soul is mine.
Yeah, like you can't compare the two.
I'm
Then
just
again,
because now when I
that to
see
me
him, I
is
just
not where
think
the site is. Like, yeah.
when I see him, all I think of, I'm good with calculations. I can give you all my
That's the dude. Oh,
yeah.
I didn't even know that was him.
I
Oh,
recognized him right away. I'm just thinking, oh my
wow.
god, I've seen him in so much stuff. I can't like he just didn't he didn't fit the character for me.
Oh,
And all I
wow.
was thinking was just how he was in The Dark Knight.
I'm not gonna be able to watch that movie the same way again. But then again, there
I guess
was,
I'm sorry,
like I
not
said,
sorry.
there was so much going on for the diehard Mortal Kombat fan. Like, even like in some of the walls, they had like the etchings of the Kami Dogu
I like the Bo
on the walls.
Raicho. I like the Bo
They
Raicho
name
Easter
dropped Bo
egg.
Raicho. They had photos of not just Nightwolf, but they did photos of Kotal Khan, and they also had like a painting of Delia, who
I
is
was gonna say, isn't Kotal Khan like after the whole thing with Shao Kahn? Like,
supposedly, according to the lore, Kotal Khan was visiting Earthrealm in like Central America, and then that's why basically they developed the whole big cult, the whole big blood cult around Kotal Khan.
okay,
So
because I just I'm
chronologically,
like,
it does make sense.
I was about to say, I'm like, I don't remember him. Like, I don't remember them referencing him in the story. Like, because hell, I'm basically watching like videos of the Mortal Kombat video games. I'm just watching, just reading into the lore again because I'm a big Mortal Kombat fan. So I'm basically reinserting myself into that world. Uh, but I was like, I don't remember Kotal Khan from the like him being referenced like at that point. I just thought like, oh yeah, he was just there. Shao Kahn is gone. We need someone to control Outworld. It's not going to be Melina.
They
I'm going to take the
basically
throne.
they basically retconned him in to being around since the beginning, and but then
Okay.
he pissed off Shao Kahn. So he, during the course of the first three games or so, he was just locked away in Shang Tsung's creepy flesh pit dungeons.
Oh, okay. Do you think they're gonna CGI a Shao Kahn like how they did with Goro, or is it gonna be like an actual physical actor that's not what's his name from Annihilation? It'll be
That
glorious, glorious.
I have no freaking idea. But before this mini review gets any longer, I'm just gonna say I liked what they did give. It strikes me as being the first step into a much larger franchise of movies. But in the meantime, I think you would be served well by watching Mortal Kombat Legacy. They're great little short films about the Mortal Kombat world. But all that being considered, as far as beard ratings, finally, I'm just going to give it a 4 out of 5 full beard. It had its faults, but it was a good time. I enjoyed it very much.
Facial hair rating, full beard, 3 out of 5 for me.
I thought that was
It
classic
was
OT.
right in the middle, or classic goatee for me, right in the middle.
All right. Well, that's pretty much all we can say about that. It's certainly plenty. And yeah, you've heard what we think about this week in professional wrestling. You've heard what we had to say about Mortal Kombat. Uh, and it's sad when a movie like that has much better booking for all of its flaws than This Week in Wrestling. But you know what? You've already heard from us. Now is a time where we bring it over to you. What did you think of This Week in Wrestling? Are you still watching Monday Night Raw? What did you think of Mortal Kombat?
Why are you
Is
watching Monday Night Raw?
Do you think, does the Miz actually have a shot at playing Johnny Cage? No matter where you are, drop us a line. Let us know what you think. YouTube comments, Facebook, our personal favorite, the Twitter machines. Join in the conversation, starting with at Scholars OW for all the latest episode uploads. Or you can also join the conversation as I'm talking really fast. I hope I don't turn into Micro Machines guy. Fool, Where can they reach you?
You lost me at the Micro Machines guy.
I'm getting into a sleepy boy. Nothing I say makes sense anymore, Pickle.
You can reach me at the Avatar.
And you can reach me geeking out over all things Mortal Kombat at I'm Robbie Rage. Join the conversation no matter what it is. It's always going to be a good time because you know who we are. We are the Scholars of Wrestling, and you have just been schooled. You're
You're
welcome.
welcome.
See
Your
you
soul
all.
is mine.